As you can probably see behind me, there are a group of protesters here in central Tel Aviv. And right now, this group, it was on the road. They've marched across the street and they are outside the gates of IDF headquarters here in Tel Aviv, the Israeli army headquarters. And they are calling for an immediate ceasefire to allow the 229 hostages to. We've seen several demonstrations of supporters or families of the hostages still in captivity in Israel, but this is continuing to grow. But what is interesting also about this protest, that there are some mixed messages. We've heard a lot of slogans calling for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to resign. In fact, people in the crowd we've been speaking to are extremely angry at him. They say it was his fault what happened on October the 7th, that he'd allowed this to fester. There were intelligence failures, and they want him to go now. And some of the people in this crowd are people who've been out on the streets protesting in Israel in previous months. Remember those huge demonstrations which saw millions of people take to the streets in Israel protesting over Netanyahu's plans for judicial reform? Well, some of the people are now coming out onto the streets again and calling for the Prime Minister to resign because of recent events, because of Hamas's attack inside Israel, which killed 1,400 civilians, the seizure of the hostages, and the war that's going on now.
And Catherine, what are people there telling you about their reactions to the ramping up of this war on Gaza that we've seen in the past 24 hours?
People we've been speaking to here in this crowd in Tel Aviv say that Hamas should be eradicated. There's still a lot of pain and anger about what happened 3 weeks ago today on October the 7th, on that dreadful day for Israel when 1,400 people were killed, many of them tortured, others taken hostage. So people back the eradication of Hamas. There is, of course, a lot of concern about what happens to civilians in Gaza, and some of them are calling for this ceasefire to allow the hostages to be released. They're very worried about that. Elsewhere across Israel, there is a range of opinion. People were extremely shocked, traumatized by what happened on October the 7th. So this is something this country hasn't seen before in this way. And so people are very afraid to live next door to the Gaza Strip with Hamas in there. And so that is something, security, which is, of course, playing hugely on their minds.
All right.